A defense off balance early, drop touchdowns, interception touchdowns, fake field goals, fake punts. Riley Leonard goes 12 for 12 at one point, John Brice, and a whole lot of grit out of Jeremiah Love, who is growing into a complete running back before our eyes. That was the story today in Atlanta. Notre Dame 31, Georgia Tech 13. Notre Dame, if you're going to get that defense, you better get them early because they settle in, JB.
Boy, they do. And you can't win a game on the opening drive or really in the first quarter. And if you can't do that against Notre Dame, you're going to have very little chance. And this defense, I'm sure we'll come up with the stats by next week. But what it does over the final three quarters of every game, particularly in the second half of contests, is really remarkable. And I don't even really consider that last touchdown anything against this Notre Dame defense because it was mail it in time and the game should have frankly been over.
Yeah, you're going to see touchdowns scored in the fourth quarter against good teams. And that's what's happening against Notre Dame. You finally put in your reserves. And a lot of grit shown by Zach Pyron getting down that field. I'll give him credit for that, but that was a garbage time score. First quarter, let's go back because Georgia Tech was able to do what we were concerned, and you especially mentioned they're a heavy screen team. They spread Notre Dame horizontally. They made them tackle in space. That's what Nick Saban says about modern defense, make them tackle in space. Notre Dame was got out leveraged, missing some tackles. Georgia Tech was 3 for 5 in the first quarter on third and fourth down. Notre Dame was 0 for 2. That's why there was a 10 minutes, 30 seconds to 4.5 minute time of possession change and 7-0 Tech at the end of that quarter.
Yeah, and that's why those are called money downs. But then to the point of adjustments, and we give Notre Dame's defense tremendous credit because it does make the adjustments that are most noticeable because it takes the offense longer. It takes the offense sometimes an entire game to have any semblance of consistency or cohesion. But the Notre Dame defense, I mean, you make a great point, T.O. 10.5 minutes or so of possession for Georgia Tech in the opening frame, 14 minutes the entire rest of the game. You've got no chance to win against this Notre Dame defense or this Notre Dame team if you can't keep your offense on the field. And after that first quarter, Georgia Tech absolutely could not do that. Notre Dame electric on those money downs. You mentioned it, 3 of 5 in the first quarter on those money downs for the Yellow Jackets. The rest of the game, they have just 4 conversions on maybe 14 attempts.
15 chances. Yeah. It was – they locked in, settled in there. I want to jump ahead to something Marcus Freeman said. This is going to get us to the second half for now with the fake field goal and the fake punt. He mentioned you see it's game plan specific. It's opponent specific. You can't save it. He was asked, people always say, do you want to save that for the bigger game? Do you want to save that for when the game is no longer in doubt? You don't save it. You unleash it. I thought the special teams play of the day was not the fake punt, which is beautiful, led to a field goal. Not the fake field goal, which was, we thought it was Chris Salerno in the box, by the way. Found out it was Tyler Buckner a few minutes later. Was Brice Young's blocked field goal because it was 21-7, 60-yard gain. Rod Hurd, to his credit, stops that from being a touchdown. It's about to become 21-14 or 21-10. If Brice Young blocks it, that's it. There was no chance Notre Dame was giving it up at that point.
Yeah, for the cool things that we saw, the neat gadget plays, so to speak, that we saw from Notre Dame's special teams, and it was nice to see Notre Dame casting a decisive edge in all 3 phases today. I think it was two field goal elements, T.O. I think that the Georgia Tech's inability to even get a kickoff right before half when the Jackets were also due to receive the opening kickoff for the third quarter, I thought that was maybe the most significant swing. I put it right there with Brice Young's block. And look, how close has he been for weeks on end to blocking a punt, to blocking a field goal, to continuing to impact the game in so many different ways. And this was another one of those instances. But for all the good that Notre Dame special teams did, I do believe the 2 biggest special teams moments of the day were Georgia Tech's failure on both of those field goals.
Yeah, going back to the second quarter where Notre Dame took control, they had the ball for the first 8 minutes of the second quarter on a touchdown drive. That was the answer play. That was take control of the game. Don't rush your way through it. And we asked Riley Leonard about his poor read in the first half that led to an interception, that led to Georgia Tech's very nice drive for a touchdown. It wasn't like it was a short field. They still had to go for 70 yards. But he said, yeah, I didn't see much on that one, apparently. Nothing good. He missed the throw. He said he misread cover 3. You can't throw into cover 3. Then he goes 12 for 12, hitting 7 different wide receivers, and the Irish end up going up 21-7 in the second quarter, going into the half. Riley Leonard 12 for 12 is not something you could have conceived of. I don't think even after the Stanford game, I would have said Riley Leonard will go 12 for 12 against Georgia Tech at one stretch.
And here are a couple of things that stand out to me. They hit 8 different guys in the throw game today. I think technically 9 different guys caught passes. One of those we know, the gadget play.
Right.
But 8 different guys, I think, caught passes from Riley Leonard. But repeatedly during that 12 for 12 stretch, he stepped up into the pocket. And it was okay for him to step up into the pocket and say, I'm going to feed it to Jeremiah Love here for 5 yards instead of asking Love to block for me. And he did that at least 2 or 3 times during that dozen consecutive completion streak. And I just thought within a game where Notre Dame, again, didn't wow you with any offensive symmetry, didn't wow you with any sort of offensive efficiency, I did absolutely see growth from Riley Leonard, specifically in that spot, specifically in response to the terrible interception, threw it into, as he noted, triple coverage. And then I didn't think Bo Collins gave his best effort on that ball. But again, Riley
it was a
Leonard
pick anyway, but he didn't give the right. You're right.
Yeah,
it was not the right effort.
like run through your guy at that point and try to make it an incomplete pass. We've talked about that. You can live with anything except an INT when you throw the ball downfield.
And I want to bring this up because I've been tracking, as I've said before, on every overtime, I'm trying to track efficient plays as the game goes on. So Notre Dame started, not to anyone's surprise, only 4 of 9 in the first quarter for efficient plays. In the second quarter and the first touchdown drive of the third, where they took control of the game, 21 of their 26 plays were efficient, where they're staying ahead of the chains. They're never going behind the chains. We're not going to see anything like that again. That is remarkable. At the same time, Georgia Tech, 2 of their 13 were efficient. Just so happens, to prove all stats can be dumb, one of those was a 60-yard gain, and that mattered a little bit for Georgia Tech. But as you said, live to fight another day. Rod Hurd makes the tackle. Notre Dame live to fight another day. No points.
No points. And really, I consider that a final 40, 50-minute shutout, really, for the Notre Dame defense. I mean, Georgia Tech got that first score in the first quarter, and then the game was over before Georgia Tech scored again. That's just the fact of the matter. So you once again had Notre Dame stitching together an in-game scoring shutout of, as I'm looking here at the math really briefly, 40-some minutes, almost 50 minutes in game. But again, for all intents and purposes, Notre Dame shut out Georgia Tech the final 3+ quarters until the game was over. And that's the way I view it. That's Notre Dame's recipe. It appeared that the Irish got through this game relatively healthy. I thought you saw, again, a Notre Dame team that I think clearly is still benefiting from the open date, T.O. I thought we saw fresher legs again today. I thought we saw fresher legs from Jeremiah Love, especially after he didn't have the usual workload a week ago. He had moments today where he absolutely turned Georgia Tech defenders having the angle into Georgia Tech defenders grasping for air. So I thought that was significant. Another thing I thought very significant in today was the fact that of all those 8 different receivers that caught passes from the offense, 9 total, Notre Dame had about 120 yards after the catch in total of 220 yards passing or whatever it was. So just about 100 yards went for where the balls were thrown, and they picked up more than a football field of real estate in yards after catch. You'll put your offense in much better positions and chances to sustain drives when you have yak like that.
I wrote down probably after the touchdown by Riley Leonard in the third quarter, I started doing my notebook and put offensive MVP Riley Leonard. I think I'm going to change it, JB, because not playing at his best, we know that. Jeremiah Love finished with 8 first downs, including the touchdown. He had a touchdown called back on a beautiful run. He was, of course, the guy they trusted on the fake punt. Over 90 yards of total offense. Ja'Jarian Price led them in rushing with 8 carries, 69 yards. His best day, too, this season. His most consistent day for Notre Dame. I mean, Riley Leonard was great, of course. 10 carries, 51 yards. I think Price had 4 or 5 first downs. Riley Leonard had 2 touchdowns. And I should point out, before I take the MVP away from him, a 4th down conversion, a 3rd down conversion, and a 3rd down touchdown. So maybe it's going to be dual MVPs. But the grit of Jeremiah Love, we have to discuss that today.
No, I mean, look, he's had better numbers in a single game, but he's never had a more complete game, in my opinion. And he got almost to that dozen carries that I think we talked about on our podcast on Thursday, but between 3 receptions and 10 rushes, 14 rushes. So 14 rushes and 3 receptions, 17 touches in the game. I think that's a great formula for Notre Dame to have a chance for offensive success and for Notre Dame to continue to build on this and build on all these wins in a row and continue marching toward the chance to not only be a college football playoff team, but they've increased their odds week by week of being a team that can host a college football playoff team. And look, there were moments today where the aesthetic beauty absolutely was not there again.
Right.
It's fun. It's art to watch Notre Dame play defense a lot of the times. It's hard to watch Notre Dame play offense a lot of the times. But having said all that, USC once again found a way to lose today. Alabama found a way to lose today, and Tennessee found a way to beat them.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame's getting a whole lot of help every Saturday just by taking care of business and letting other people fail to take care of business.
3 questions here, and 2 relate to what you just said. Kevin Brady says, great game, but offense did only score 24 of the points. Of course, John Tucker said, I agree. The offense was underwhelming. It did have that stretch in the second half after the Riley Leonard touchdown run where they just could not – they could move the ball. They couldn't capitalize. There was some 3 and outs. It looked like they were relying on the, it's second down. Riley Leonard better do a QB counter again, which you didn't think that would happen when they got into rhythm. And I think that's something going forward where I don't want to talk about next week yet, but you can't have those stretches if you're not going to get the ball back for 8 minutes, which could be coming up here in 2 of the next 4 games.
Well, and here's the single biggest reason why you can't have those stretches. And imagine if the Louisville game had been roles reversed and Notre Dame had been the team down 24-7. We haven't seen this team have to come back from double digits this year. And I think that makes the offensive disjointed identity right now all the more troubling, frankly speaking. I think that's very concerning. I don't think this team has a third down identity yet. And I thought 7 games into the season that Mitchell Evans and Bo Collins and Jaden Greathouse would be this team's third down identity when they had to go to the air. And that's just not the case. And now credit Aeneas Williams today early, I believe, on a third down, but a brilliant play that he made and looked like a grown man. I counted it specifically, broke 4 tackles before he stepped out of bounds. He never really was tackled. And these were, again, that's a true freshman who took on guys that had full heads of steam, and he shook them off. So micro moments of growth, but it has to be concerning, this Notre Dame offense, when the lack of a third down identity is, to me, what's most troubling, because not having a third down identity means that's why we see the disjointed, the lack of cohesion, the never any sort of consistent, like, you don't look at a Notre Dame box score or a drive chart and see 4 or 5 possessions in a row where they've sustained the ball and moved downfield and scored 3 or 4 of those possessions and then still had nice possessions, but maybe punted from midfield. You don't see it enough.
I'm glad you brought up Aeneas Williams, because I don't want to be accused of doing it every week. But when he had that run in the press box, the first thing, everybody looked at me, because they all know by now that I'm number 1 on the Aeneas Williams bandwagon as of 2 years ago, July at Irish Invasion.
Okay.
I made the same point you made, John Brice. He never actually went down. He just had to step out of bounds, because they don't tackle Aeneas Williams. You just kind of eventually deter him from getting in the end zone. But David Romick, I like this. He says Drake Bowen is the MVP. I meant offensive MVP. But David, Drake Bowen will be mentioned. Leonard Moore was the defensive MVP. 3 straight third and fourth down stops by a true freshman corner in the middle of the game when they're taking control of it. He has been fantastic. Drake Bowen is surging. Drake Bowen deserves a lot of credit. Jack Kaiser had a very good game too. I don't know when the piece will happen. And Riley Mills took over the game at some point as well. There's a lot of defensive MVPs, and that's the most important thing. You can't just pick out one.
No, and what had Georgia Tech allowed coming into this game? 1 sack all year.
Yes.
And gave up 2 today. Notre Dame had 4 tackles for loss. I think Notre Dame was credited initially with 5 quarterback hurries, or 4 or 5 passes defended, broken up. 3 of those, I believe, belonged to Leonard Moore. Ergo, your point of making him the defensive MVP. You could pick a lot of guys as defensive MVP today, and it gives you an idea of the dominance of multiple players when a Don Schuler has a pick 6 that truly seals the game, and he's the 3rd, 4th, 5th person we talk about in terms of being the defensive MVP. And it's really the score that absolutely cinched the game.
Back to your third down point, not having an identity. They got 4 in a row. Of course, we know when that happened. It was when they took control of the game. It was Riley Leonard on 4th and 1 goes for 7. 3rd and 1, Riley Leonard goes for a yard. The Aeneas Williams play, and then 3rd and goal, Riley Leonard again. So that's the identity they're searching for. But then teams, when it's not 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 3rd and 9, they force Leonard to scramble. They only gained 3. 3rd and 12, they threw to Harrison to get closer. 4th down, quarterback scramble, only gained 1. 3rd and 8, incomplete. They went to the fake punt on 4th and 8, which was a wonderful call. 3rd and 16, incomplete. You're not supposed to get those. 3rd and 3, Jeremiah Love barreling in. That is we're not going to talk about that as a turning point of the game. They already had control of the game. He had no 3rd down conversions on the season. They didn't trust him much. I think he only had 2 chances until last week. Now he's had a couple in a row. Aeneas Williams can be your guy there, but you want Jeremiah Love, the grown man at 212 pounds, buried in there too. They don't go to Brice on 3rd down. That's not his niche. They're going to have to find something besides the Riley Leonard. He started escaping right again, JB, when there was pressure in the second half. He started not trusting things downfield, I think.
Yeah, he did. That's what I noticed. Again, when he had that 12 for 12 stretch, he stepped up into the pocket more. He took a couple of check downs. Even the broadcast noted that there was a time where he maybe went to a 3rd or a 4th read to complete a pass rather than take off running. That second half, especially a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6, was a really dissatisfactory play from Riley Leonard. But the fact of the matter is, we also know Riley Leonard cops to those mistakes and tries to grow from them. So I do think he's doing it less, but you would like to say, hey, he only did it once. When you're this deep into a season.
Right. And now we're talk about the wide receivers a little bit. I did think we all thought, and I was next to Matt Freeman, he also thought as well, Bo Collins has to go give an effort to break up that interception. It was probably going to be picked anyway, but you want to see that from your graduate student senior. Collins did have a good day, though. He came up with 4 first down gains, or 3 first down gains, 4 chunk gains by Bo Collins. Jaden Greathouse with a nice back shoulder play. I want to see a little more. Jaden Greathouse had, I think, 2 first downs as well. You want to see these receivers grow. Mike Denbrock has openly said he wants Jordan Faison to be healthy. I did see Faison out there punt coverage. And also, I looked out often at the field receiver. He was standing out there. He just was not targeted that I saw today.
Yeah. I guess maybe that's a case where Mike Denbrock might say, I don't determine who to throw the ball to. But no, I noticed like you that Faison didn't just play special teams. He got some offensive snaps. I thought Eli Raridan flashed in a key moment early when Notre Dame absolutely had to keep the sticks moving, and they did. And he had a first down reception in which he shook off a tackle and ran through another arm tackle. And that's a growth point for Eli. He needs to continue to do more of that. I continue to be surprised that we've not seen the tight ends more involved. But, there are myriad factors to that.
Yeah.
And that's nitpicking a little bit, but I also think that could drive toward having more of a third down identity.
I agree with you completely. The myriad factors, though, I think are Mitchell Evans might not be totally right until after the second bye, if then. You can tell he does not have the same quickness after the catch.
He's not sudden. No,
and he used to be.
He nearly was the overarching factor in what should have been Notre Dame's win against Ohio State last year. Not because he was just so reliable, but Ohio State was stunned by how sudden Mitchell Evans was, how dynamic he was. He wasn't just a big tight end who was a big target who caught the ball and then went down. He had explosiveness and suddenness to him. We haven't yet seen that. That's a great point by you. That's why I think the move by Eli Raridan today was significant, because it was a growth point. He did flash. He did get out of a tackle. He did get past the guy. He did move the sticks.
And Cooper Flanagan, he is on, I think he's not all the way back yet, obviously, from the ankle injury. Cooper Flanagan was on kickoff return. They do use 3 tight ends on kickoff return. He was back there. I wasn't trying to mark down when everybody went in the game, but I did not see from my press box vantage point. By the way, I forgot my glasses, the one thing I own glasses for in the world. So I had some binoculars going on. I did not see much of Cooper Flanagan out there at all. Did you see him?
No, not at all. I don't think he was a factor whatsoever today.
Going forward, I think obviously now Navy, I call him the juggernaut on instant analysis. Navy just puts it on people.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's defense is not something Navy has seen.
No.
Notre Dame's defenders have seen plenty of Navy. It's going to be a heck of a test, though, this week. This is I know you and Pete Sampson, I think both feel Army might be the better team, the bigger test. I feel that Navy goes into Notre Dame games with plenty of confidence, though. That is something that you don't get from lesser teams playing Notre Dame in this situation.
I'm sure that's the case. I also think that it's been 15 months since these two teams opened the 23 season together, and I know they're different, but I can't get out of my head how thorough that domination was. The scoreboard does not reflect how much Notre Dame owned that contest almost from beginning to end, when you had a guy like Jeremiah Love scoring a touchdown literally on his first touch, and Jadarian Price doing some electric things, and the throw game as effective as it was. And also, mind you, that was Jared Parker's first ever game as an offensive coordinator. So I'm not diminishing what Navy has accomplished. And I think it's imperative for Notre Dame to get off to a better start, because otherwise this is a Navy offense that, if Notre Dame doesn't get its standard production from its defense, Navy has an offense that could put Notre Dame in that double-digit deficit that we just alluded to, that the Irish have not faced all season.
And JB, to kind of close the proceedings, Notre Dame has one major thing going in their favor. Al Golden is going to be ready for Navy. And Al Golden has some defensive players, defensive pieces. Riley Mills has played Navy 3 times. Howard Cross has played Navy 3 times. Even Jalen Sneed has started twice against Navy. It's a strange thing to say. Xavier Watts, Jack Kaiser. Now they're going to test. Benjamin Morris would be nice here. Cam Hart would be nice here. This is when you start looking at the younger guys seeing this for the first time. Blake Horvath, 7 completions today, 3 for touchdowns. Really funny trivia here from anybody listening at JB. He has tied the all-time Navy record for passing touchdowns in a season with 14 already. And this is a hint. You will never guess who owns that title that he's tied with right now, because I was completely wrong. You're going to guess the obvious person, I think.
Since you told me that, I would have guessed Roger Staubach. I will go with Keenan Reynolds.
That was my second guess. It's Ricky Dobbs who preceded Keenan Reynolds. So times have changed in college football, but this is Al Golden seems to adjust with them all times. Anything else, JB? This is Notre Dame came in, took care of business in Atlanta. We all felt to be a double-digit victory. Everybody had Notre Dame covering the spread. Not totally fair that Haynes King didn't play, so it was not that hard to figure they'd cover the spread. But I thought not a complete game, but a 3-phase win. That's the most important part.
No, it was. This was a 3-phase win, not a complete game from the offense, a complete 50-plus minutes from the defense, much closer to a perfect game of special teams play. We've heard that discussed. I really think without Mitch Jeter, you probably give this an A or an A plus,
yes.
or as close to a perfect grade as you can. Yoakum made the kick when he needed to. And again, you're letting people, you're Notre Dame, you're handling business and watching all these people that you thought might be competing for the same playoff spot that you covet falling by the wayside. So just keep handling business, keep taking care of yourself, get through a game like today against a physical team like Georgia Tech. We all believe Notre Dame got through this game healthy. It's best case scenario all the way around.
Notre Dame is 6-1. For John Brice of FootballScoop.com and Irish Illustrated, I'm Tim O'Malley. Thanks for joining us at Irish Illustrated Overtime.